up until 2006, Ross was basically like two prisons in one. The north side was medium security, the south side was close security. One side was level 2, one side was level 3. In '06, they changed it. they, they turned it completely into a level 3 close security prison. Well, sometime in 2015, they decided to make it a disciplinary level 3, a high level 3 prison. And the reason they did it was because we only had two maximum security prisons at the time. We had Lucasville and we had OSP in Youngstown. They were getting over flooded with guys and they just needed more room. And at the time, Lebanon was our only level 3 disciplinary camp. And it's always been off the hook. So Ross bit the bullet and took one for the team and became a disciplinary camp. And I got there at the end of 2015, beginning going into 16. And Ross is down south. It's in Chillicothe. I would say it's a Columbus ran prison. Columbus runs the prison, and the gangs are the predominant gangs from Columbus are the Bloods and the Crips that run the prison. But you also got a large amount of another gang from Columbus called the KFs. But the Bloods and Crips run the prison. If I had to do a ratio, I would say probably 50% of that prison is Columbus. And then probably 25 to 30% is Cincinnati. And then the other 20 to 25% is everybody else. At the time when I rode in, there was almost no Heartless. There was almost no Southern people there, period. Even the whole time I was there, there was less. Man, there might have been. I did almost 5 years there, and I probably only met 24 Toledo people the whole time I was there. I'm not saying there wasn't some that I didn't know about, but there was not many people there from Toledo. So basically, when they made it a disciplinary camp, that's when the North started riding down there. And for some reason, Northern Ohio and Southern Ohio has always had beef in the joint. There's always been friction, whether it be Toledo and Columbus, Toledo, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Dayton, Cleveland, Cincinnati. It's always something. Akron, it's always something. And it's always been like that. Everybody knows about the Bloods and Crips. It's almost like a fashion statement now. I mean, you got celebrity Bloods and Crips. They obviously have the most numbers. But in Ohio, the Heartless Felons are closing that gap. I would say within 5 to 10 years, the Heartless Felons will be the biggest gang in Ohio prisons. If they ain't already, I'm saying there's so many of these motherfuckers there. And at that time, they had also started riding into Ross. Now, at that time, there was only 6 phones in a block at Ross. You had 2 Blood phones, the Columbus Bloods. You had 2 Crip phones, the Columbus Crips. You had a KF phone and you had a C-Dub phone in the block I was in. Now, you got 2 sides to Ross's compound. It's the biggest prison I've ever been to. It's literally like two prisons in one. There's two massive rec yards in one compound. On the I was on the north side. 6A, 6B were the dump down blocks. On the south side, 4A, 4B were the dump down blocks. The dump down blocks were the disciplinary blocks. If you got in trouble at another level 3 prison, they send you to Ross and you go straight to the dump down block. The difference in the dump down block as opposed to the regular compound is, okay, so at a level 3 prison, you're in your cell 14 to 6, about 16 hours a day. You get like 3 hours a day room. You get an hour a rec. You might get 4 hours a day room, an hour a rec, and then your meals and shit like that. But everything's on a schedule. Like, you just ain't out in the day room all day at Ross. Not even on the compound. So, in the dump down block, you're in your cell all day. You get rec once a day for 2 hours. That's it. And during your rec, that's when you get your showers. That's when you make your phone calls. And you can only go to commissary once a month. They let you spend like $210 once a month. It was the jungle. Those are automatically the off the hook blocks, disciplinary blocks. Guys riding in from other prisons with beef, gang affiliate. It's gangland. Now, when I get there, the Heartless Felons in the block I was in had some numbers. They had a good dozen to 12 to 15 to 18 of them, somewhere in that range. And they went and got them a phone. They mashed the C-dubs up off their phone. They broke this dude named Waldo's nose and took their phone. And basically that just became the off-the-hook fights all day, every day. Get it how you live. COs turned a blind eye. They didn't give a fuck. It was just what it was. But once I got to the compound, it was a sweet bit. It was a sweet bit. And it was off the hook. It was a real prison. You definitely had your stabbings. You definitely had money, and the dope was in that bitch heavy. I know meth was floating through that bitch. Motherfuckers was definitely in rotation, for sure. Ross was definitely a cool bit. But the felons numbers, them Heartless Felons numbers, started piling in. And it got to the points where before I came home, they were running half that side of the prison. They were running the south side of that prison. I came home October 27th of 2019. And Columbus still had a firm grip on that prison. The C-dubs had massive numbers, but the problem is, for every one of them that's solid, 20 of them are weak. And the same goes for the KFs. I know some good C-dubs. One of my best friends at Ross, dude named Keith Fields. Solid. And he's a killer. And the same goes for the KFs. I know some solid KFs. But there's just too many dope fiend maggots involved. But anyway, the Heartless Felons numbers started getting up before I left. And I remember having conversations with guys. See, people have problems with the Heartless Felons. And it basically boils down to, I think, jealousy and envy. Because my whole thing is this. I don't wish prison on nobody. Especially the kids. I do. That's why I do this. I'm trying to deter kids. That's my number one purpose in all of this. But on the flip side of that is, if you are gonna do it, you might as well do it all out. And then, I've always had respect for them. They were kids when they came up. The Heartless Felons got started in juveniles back in the early 2000s. By the time it started hitting the grown man penitentiaries, it was kids coming out of DYS going into prison. At 18 years old, they're coming in, 19 years old. Babies. So they stuck together, they band together, and they did what they did to do what they do. But now they've been involved in they've been in prisons. And I'm telling you, in 5 years, there's gonna be more heartless felons in Ohio prisons than there are Bloods and Crips. If not just as many. If it ain't already the case. And that's what's happened. In the last few years, there's been like 7 homicides, I believe it is, 7 or 8 homicides at Ross. A CO just got murdered. I don't like to speak ill of the dead. He was mean to people though, and dude killed him in the rec shack. And it's slowly becoming Ohio's most violent prison. And it might be by design. I don't know if they just put this shit in rotation, because it does seem, 1 year to be Toledo will have a run, Lebanon will have a run, Mansfield will have a run, and it's Ross's run right now. And it's the gang violence. They've taken a southern prison that's been ran by Bloods and Crips from Columbus for decades, and they've injected a few hundred heartless felons and guys from up north. And like I said, if you're in Columbus, if you're in Ross, which is ran by Columbus, Bloods and Crips. And here's what I mean by that. So when I was there, you didn't have tablets. You had to go into the day room and stand in line to get on a phone. There were 6 phones on the wall. 2 of those phones were Columbus Bloods phones. 2 of them were Columbus Crip phones. They had the numbers. But just because I've explained it, it's city politics. Bloods and Crips from other cities, some of them might get down and be cool and get in where they fit in. But it ain't just because they're Bloods. It's because they got in, got cool, whatever. You're still looked at as an out-of-towner. A Blood from Columbus can't come up to Toledo prison and get in rotation with the Bloods. It don't work like that. It's a city thing first. And they've injected all these guys from up north. And all these felons. And guys, I'm telling you, the Heartless Felons are taking over prisons all over Ohio. I don't know why people, it's like a pride thing. I was in there, they had me in rotation on the phone in Mansfield and in Ross. I've had nothing. I knew Capone. Capone was one of the guys who started them. I remember back in 06, 07 when he come to Toledo. He was my neighbor for 2 years. My dude, he was my spade partner. I've never had an issue. They're running Ohio prisons, and right now they're making noise at Ross, and it ain't no coincidence now that it's the most violent prison in Ohio. So that's just what it is. I mean, and that's how it goes. That's how it goes, and I do believe a lot of it is purposeful. They see guys get a stronghold, or they're worried about certain individuals knocking off staff or because they do investigate. They know people are in there making money. They know guys are in there selling dope. They know guys are in there committing crimes. And they'll do shit like that. They'll turn it into a disciplinary camp, and knowing that the South and the North is always beefed, and they'll just shoot 3, 4, 500 rivals and just inject them into the camp. And I'm surprised it don't cause more chaos than it does. But there's been at least a half a dozen homicides at Ross Prison, including the CO in the last few years. So it's just crazy. But that's the video for today, y'all. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button. Share the video. Let's keep this channel growing, y'all. We're coming up on 500. It's unbelievable to me. Because when I still don't even know. If any of you know what you're doing out there, I would really appreciate it. Reach out to me. I need somebody to help me. I need an editor. I need everything. This is fresh. This is the best channel because this is raw. I'm still in the hood, y'all. I'm not somebody sitting in $1 million crib trying to preach, y'all. I'm still in the trenches with y'all. So hit the like and subscribe, share the video, man. Let's get this shit bubbling, man. And until the next time, it's the hoodie, man. Stay up, y'all.